Welcome to Spec-5 World Tour's season finale, a double-length race from Shell V-Power Motorsports Park, The Bend. It's a beautiful day, it's a beautiful racetrack, and we cannot wait to see who will be champion across two divisions, Pro and Open. There's going to be even more strategy and twice as much racing to fill the airwaves today. David Haynes with Reese Gardner and Michael Derby as HJBC brings you live coverage of this season decider race when the calendar came out, and we saw 90 minutes at the Bend as a season decider. Both of our Australian ears pricked up. How do you feel now?
Yeah, I feel pretty hyped. It's great to be at the Bend for the final round of the season, running the international layout, which is the most used for competition. I think if we ran the full GT layout, all 7 and a bit kilometers of it, we would be here for a long time in qualifying, and I think drivers would be struggling to even get one lap in. But
it'd be a 5 lap race, wouldn't it?
Yeah, something like that. But this track is plenty long enough in this configuration for these MX-5s. Technical, flowing with some heavy braking zones. It'll provide some good overtaking opportunities. But I think those left side tires are going to be put through the ringer around here, especially with that middle section.
Yes, indeed. So before we go 90 minutes of racing, we go 15 minutes of qualifying, looking at Mitchell Peak right here. I think this is one of those parts you were talking about. The track has 4 consecutive right-hand corners, each one slightly tighter than the one before. So it would seem through turns 7, 8, 9, and 10. Got a couple of high curves around here. It's a brand new racetrack as far as racetracks go. Maybe it's almost 5 years old now. That's still young in racetrack terms. And so it's out in the middle of almost nothing, and this back half of the racetrack is a bit, out in the weeds and the sticks, but the facilities are good. Big pit building with a hotel, museum, probably some refrigerated water dispensers. Who knows? They've got all of the mod cons here.
They certainly have. Yeah, the Bend is only a baby compared to some of the other tracks on iRacing, particularly, I think in a technical sense, the oldest track on iRacing would be the Milwaukee Mile, because that circuit existed as a horse racing track before the turn of the 20th century. So if you're talking in terms of real life age, yeah, the Bend is far and away one of the newest. Maybe Miami is a little bit younger, having just been added to the service. But we're going to take a look around the track on board here ever so briefly with Mitchell Peak as he makes his way through the opening corners. Jared Collins is the man on top, setting a 2:08.3, and he is the one we're following around at the moment. Those opening corners, very difficult to get right at the best of times, and you got to take really good care to avoid those sausage curbs that appear out of nowhere at some points around the lap.
Yeah, and then you struggle for reference markers, I think, out here because it's flat, green grass, interrupted only by a couple of high voltage transmission lines out there connecting, I forget which town, to the grid. But probably a couple of wine growing regions rely on that as well. So that's important. We can't go knock those down. Jared Collins is on top right now. That's turn 11 and turn 12, where a left-hander flows into a right-hander. You get a medium sort of length straight here to turn 13, which is sort of a 90-degree right-hander. And then things get interesting again for the remainder of the lap here. You've got almost a Hockenheim Ring Stadium bowl here.
I love this corner. It's very satisfying to get the launch out of it. You can't quite see it from that camera angle, but there is a fair amount of camber to that corner. You're almost getting driven in towards the apex, and it flows right into this penultimate corner, one of the slowest on the circuit. Feels almost a bit street circuit-like in the line that you have to take. but then you flow through the last turn, and pit entry is right there on the exit. That's something we're going to have to think about, David, is pit entry at the bend. The drivers will have to make 2 pit stops here today with this 90-minute finale format. And you have to start braking for the pits basically the moment you get out of the final corner. So if you're in a pack, drivers are going to have to keep an eye out.
Yeah, we're about to go on board with Brandon Hawken. He was a late arrival to the championship this season. He doesn't feature in the championship fight. The races he has done, he's had a good strike rate. He's picked up a couple of race wins. He's fought for those race wins. So on board with him right now. The final corner is quick. It's a little more open. And that pit lane is long, and it's 25 miles an hour, so with 2 pit stops, they are going to spend a long time in it.
Yes, that they are. There's pit exit on the way into turn 1. Get on the brakes at about the 100 marker in these MX-5s and carry all the speed you can through turn 1. Be careful not to hit the sausage curb at turn 2, and then narrow line into turn 3. Get on the power much sooner than you think, so you can carry the speed through these beautiful flowing sections coming up to the hairpin, which I think is going to be the prime overtaking opportunity on this lap. Super hard braking a bit later than you think. The corner's open on the way in, but then it tightens up right at the apex, and you try to slide your way out of there as you put the power down. And this section right here is what I was talking about earlier, this middle section where there's a never-ending series of right-hand kinks that you've got to be so precise through. Barely any steering input at all from Brandon Hawken as he flows his car through that section, but as I said, the left side tires will not be a fan of that by the end.
Relatively mild day at the moment, but the sun comes out, there's nothing to protect you, and the sun is a deadly laser. Look out for that one. Brandon Hawken is on top for the moment. Todd Martin's been a feature of the open class, and that's one of the championships we're going to have underneath the microscope in today's race. Mathematically, I think there are as many as 8 or 9 drivers that could take the championship, and there are 5 that are a seriously good chance. They're basically 5 drivers where if they come out on top today and they win open class, they outscore everyone else and they take the championship. Todd Martin is one of those drivers, and he's the best qualified open class driver at the moment. A couple more pro class drivers jump in front of him, but he's got Peter Resorkis, Mark Kruger as championship rivals. They've just laid in some times. Jason Stalker too, who doesn't have a time yet.
No, not yet. Neither does Michael Folds, but now he does. The man who's led the championship for the majority of the season now puts it into P3. He's come with another livery change for this final round of the season. Very nice, bright yellow looking jobby there. And Michael Coates, well, he's still running the same livery he always has, that striking green and yellow scheme. 14th at the moment. He is looking for more improvements. Puts it P8 on a 208.7. That's about a second off the times at the front of the field. I'm interested to see how much he can gain on this next lap.
Ginio Pellicci is up into second place with his teammate Donnie Moffat in fourth at the high speed and slipstreaming of Monza. They tried to play some games as best they could. It didn't quite work out. See if Donnie's a little bit more circumspect about his pit entry here as well. There's that front straight. And as I said, you carry so much speed out of that final corner. By the time they've passed the pit entry, they're already doing 7/8 of a Mazda MX-5 top speed. So it is slipstream down the front straight until you come over just that little crest to break into turn 1. There's Peter Resorkis. You can see already sort of like fourth gear there. He's going to practice this pit entry. There's big stop, almost to a crawl, to a standstill on pit entry is how you got to treat it. It's so slow.
Yeah, fortunately, the speed of the MX-5 is low enough and the brakes are powerful enough that you don't actually have to get on the brakes while you're still on the racetrack. You kind of have to do that in some other cars. We'll keep an eye out in the last 3 minutes for any improvements from our front runners. Mike Oswalt on a 208.6 so far, and it looks like he'll be starting his final lap there. See what he can do to elevate himself further in the top 10. Donnie Moffat bringing it into the pits. Good opportunity to practice. And Michael Coates, we always expect him to be in and around the top 5 or so. Currently 9th and coming to the end of his 3rd lap of 4. Hopefully he hasn't picked up an off-track somewhere along the way. The Bend, though it is a modern FIA Grade 2 venue, doesn't have very much tarmac runoff. Most of the circuit is lined by grass, sand, and gravel. So you do need to be careful not to pick up off-tracks on your laps. Coates setting, I don't think that time, either that time didn't count or it was basically exactly the same time that he had already run a 208.7. So not much more to say about that. Polici's having a really good qualifying performance. If he can gain 2/10, then he'll be able to get pole position off Brandon Hawken. He's currently prepping for his final lap.
Yes, he'll just about get time for that. By the looks of things, 2 minutes remaining in the session before the checkered flag starts flying. Obviously, Adams also going to practice his pit entry. All those flags, blustery at the moment. And of course, when the wind picks up, it just blows straight over the plains here. It's coming from the south east, so that could still be quite hot.
Yeah, 25 kilometer an hour at maximum, which is around about 17 or 18 miles an hour, I think. That is fairly gusty, but the air temperature is nice and cool, 22 Celsius as Mark Kruger brings it in. Track temperature, 29 Celsius, which is, I think, sort of in the 80s in terms of Fahrenheit, high 80s. So not too bad. We'll see how that evolves, though, over the 90-minute race to come. It's one thing that we don't really consider from time to time is track evolution through a session. I mean, it's all well and good doing a 45-minute race like we usually do in Spec-5 World Tour, but you double the race length, you double the energy the cars are putting into the track effectively, and I wonder what the track's going to handle like by the end, as Coates has a major problem there on his final lap, and it looks like he won't managed to get another time on the board here.
No, most won't. All are done. Polici's done. Most others are done.
Yeah, it looks like only 2 cars left on track. Coates and David Starb as well. 15 seconds on the clock. And I'm sure we will see him disappear off the circuit very shortly. Any track time is worth it, but David Starb, unfortunately, unable to get a time on the board that he's happy with. And click your fingers, and like Thanos, I have the power, and everyone disappears. Time to go through the grid, David.
Sure is. Starting on pole for the final race of the season will be Brandon Hawken, Eugenio Polici in second, Michael Folds in third. That's Jared Collins in fourth, Donnie Moffat fifth, Odyssey Adams in sixth, Mike Oswalt in seventh. The open class where it's wide open for who could take this championship. Todd Martin has that pole in eighth. Michael Coates qualified ninth, and Mitchell Peake will start from 10th. 21 cars have come to the championship decider. Peter Resorkis in 11th, Mark Kruger in 12th, Sean Hayes in 13th, Jason Stalker 14th, then Brian Chabelski, Tom Athon, Geordie Fike, Jake DeGrand, Rui Coimbra, and David Starb. Rick Wishon did not set a qualifying time. That's our 21 drivers for this 90-minute finale, I want to take a little minute to thank Spec-5 World Tour and all of the supporters, all of their race control and administrators for having us on board once again. It's been another great season of Spec-5 World Tour that's shown by the quality of racing, the number of drivers we've had, and how many drivers are in this fight all the way to the very end, with some new faces as well.
Yeah, fantastic stuff. And thank you once again for bringing me on here on HJBC. I can't always make the Spec-5 World Tour events depending on my schedule, but when I do, it's always a pleasure. It's a chill time with the occasional fantastic battle involved, and I think we're going to be seeing quite a few of them here today. An exciting conclusion to this championship ahead of us before we all kick back for the Christmas and New Year's period.
Absolutely, I can't wait to put the Southpaw Racer Christmas Carol on repeat.
Yeah, I've already lost Whamageddon.
I haven't been Mariah Carey'd yet somehow this year. I think it happened to me on like the 1st of December last year, but I even went to a shopping centre yesterday and have managed to survive hearing Mariah Carey yet this year. We're at our pace car speed on this formation lap, which is going to be the full formation lap of this international layout. There's the weather. The time of day is actually also quite interesting. 4:52 p.m. Should get darker, should cool off as we go. 4:52 p.m. on November the 13th as well.
Yes. So we're basically in the end of spring, start of summer area in Australia in sim. We're going to be seeing potentially some rising track temperatures as the drivers power their way around this place. The MX-5 doesn't put as much energy into the tarmac as some other cars do, but you still have to keep a close eye out on track temperature. The temperature has actually gone down a couple of degrees from qualifying, though, so I think the drivers will be happy with that.
Let's take a look at the championship standings as we begin the final race of the season and the final race of the year. Michael Folds is 20 points ahead of Lincoln Fox, but Fox is not here. Michael Coates is in third, and then Eugenio Pulici and Donnie Moffat. Odyssey Adams, Michael Chase, Carl Genski, Mitchell Peake and Mike Oswalt complete the top 10. At one point, Mitchell Peake dropped out of that top 10. He's very happy to be back. Open class. Ooh, this is where things get interesting because there are a lot of points available sitting ready to be taken at this finale. Todd Martin just ahead of Jason Stalker, just 4 points ahead of Lee Martin, just 6 points ahead of Peter Rasorkas. Paul Murgatroyd there in 5th, and Mark Kruger. I'd say anyone in that top 6 stands a chance. Travis Hewitt there in 7th, Jerry DiPiero, Jake DeGrand and Gareth Brocklesby complete our top 10, but it's that top 5 or 6 where anything could happen, and we'll be coming back to that one, no doubt. And we've also got Mr. Clean, Reese.
We certainly have, and Lee Martin currently leads the way there on only 4 incidents over the course of the season. Lincoln Fox will remain in second, I believe, because he is not here this race. No, actually, you do get a bunch of incidents added if you miss a round, so he could be in trouble of losing P2 and Mr. Clean to Todd Martin or Peter Rasorkas, depending on how things go. Final corner. Now it's time for the pace car to come in and get this race started.
90 minutes are on the clock. Brandon Hawken and Eugenio Pulici are on the front row as the green flag waves very early on the front straight here. We pick up speed heading towards the 90-degree turn 1, feeds into the sequence of 2 and the hairpin of 3. They all get so close. Pulici getting a little bit of a bump trial from Jared Collins is going to look around the outside as it's cold tyres for all. A few drivers running wide. Stalker runs out wide from turn 1, and then turn 2 just sets you up into turn 3.
Brandon Hawken already away to half a second in the lead. It was a perfect start for him. Eugenio Polici was side by side with him into turn 1, but has to settle for second as they battle behind him for third. Folds, the championship leader in the yellow car. Got Jared Collins right behind. Folds needs a good result today to secure that championship in style. If he has a problem and falls down the order, that job is going to become harder. Almost 3 wide there on the exit of the hairpin. That was Todd Martin and Michael Coates, with it looked like Mitchell Peake having a poor run through the outside of the hairpin. But for the moment, no big incidents thus far. Looking like a clean start for our quote-unquote endurance round.
Through this sweeping section, Mark Kruger gets 2 tyres up on one of the tall curbs. Most of them are flat, but not that one. He's under pressure from Sean Hayes right now. Just a car length back, so Kruger not pressuring the drivers in front, needing to be just a little bit careful about Sean Hayes behind. He hits a whole bunch more inside curb again. Sean Hayes thinking, do I sit behind this driver or do I try to make a move? Early goings.
Oh, big oversteer for the car behind of Tom Athon. He's having some trouble keeping the car on the straight and narrow, and that's backed up Rui Coimbra, allowing Geordie Fike to make the move in the 09 machine. Pass made for Fike at the penultimate corner, but can he maintain the grip? It's all about momentum in these cars. Beautiful handling sports car, the Mazda MX-5, carries a lot more speed through these turns than you'd expect. You have to push, you have to get it right.
1 lap completed and predicting 27 more. Maybe we're going to need more laps than that. Brandon Hawken's lead eroded just a little bit by that slipstream down the front straight where it's strongest. It's the longest full throttle run on this racetrack. Polici gets a little bit closer. Michael Folds sits there in third. The top 7 are still running in the order that they qualified. So Donnie Moffat, Odyssey Adams and Mike Oswalt. You've got to find Michael Coates, who's gone up a spot. He has passed Todd Martin for 8th, and then Resorcus, Stalker. That's a battle 2nd and 3rd in the open class just there. We've just gone through turn 6 and kicked up a little bit of dust in some of these places, and we are side by side with Resorcus and Stalker. Mitchell Peake behind, I think, with 4 consecutive right-hand corners. I'd want to be on the inside of 4 consecutive right-hand corners.
Yes, but unfortunately he hasn't been able to consolidate that. Stalker was carrying a little bit more pace on the way in, but look at Peake's move there. Oh, that was quite brave from Mitchell Peake. Carried the momentum out of those right-handers and flung it up the inside of the entry into the S-bend that brings us back onto the main layout of the track. He is certainly looking to make a recovery here, is Mitchell Peake. Remember, he started 10th, and he's only 1 position away from getting that place back.
Through these next turns we go, coming towards the last 2, up at the race lead here. No one wants to let the leader get too far away in a race like this, because it would be so difficult to reel them back in. Brandon Hawken, minimum speed about 140 kilometers an hour through that final corner, and then you're immediately just picking it up. Eugenio Polici ranging in to half a car length back, to almost at the rear bumper, to looking to the inside, rolling out of the throttle and dropping back in behind Brandon Hawken. So he got close, but he remains behind for the moment. So too Michael Folds. Collins and Moffat get just a little closer. You've got your top 7, and then you've got Mitchell Peake trying to make more moves against Peter Resorcus.
Yes, got up the inside at turn 1, but ran a bit deep, and so he's had to maintain some side-by-side with Resorcus through these opening corners. Now he's got the outside line through this right-hander. It's a flat-out corner in these MX-5s, but you need to hit the apex for the best line through it. Around the outside at the hairpin, question mark. Let's see if it works out for Mitchell Peake. Now he has the inside for the right-handers again. But this time, it's Jason Stalker, who's the 3rd car involved, getting the best run of the lot, and he makes contact with Resorcus. That backs him up. Mark Kruger gives him the hurry up, and now Sean Hayes responds to try and find a way through. Around the outside on entry, becomes the inside for the next corner, parks it on the apex, and stops Mark Kruger from getting the run out. Ultimately, it's a case of seeing what's happening in front of you and responding accordingly. Sometimes that can benefit you.
Oh, 2 wheels to the sky as all of these drivers cut that corner just a little bit more than seems optimal. Exciting viewing though, nonetheless. Everyone keeps it mostly on the road. Some stalker there, and you've got our top 9 staying together. That's this group of cars, and it is benefiting Todd Martin for the moment, as it puts more space between him and his rivals in open class. He would be champion if it finished like this, but it might not necessarily, because there are still many, many laps and 2 pit stops to go. It looks like Eugenio Pellicci wins lead this time. Michael Folds can pull out of one slipstream into the other, but he will just wait and stay in 3rd place.
It's a 9-car train at the front of this field at the moment. And it's all just a waiting game here in the first stint. Remember, most of the time in Spec-5 World Tour, the races are 45 minutes in length with a single pit stop for fuel required in the middle. And you are able to change tyres as well. The drivers are going to have to do that twice in this race. And that brings in a couple of new variables, a couple of new question marks. Tyres, if you get the selection wrong, can add a lot of time to your stop. So do you change tyres at both stops? Do you change them at only one of the stops? You're going to have to change the left sides anyway, I would imagine, with how much load is being put through them and how much they wear through the right-hand corners. But yeah, a couple of question marks over that. We'll have to wait and see.
This is group number 2. Jason Stalker getting just a little bit closer to Peter Rasorkas. Lead changes again. Brandon Hawken down the inside of Eugenio Pellicci. Hawken runs a tiny bit wide. And now Folds is going to get to the inside of Pellicci here for this left-handed sequence.
Oh, that was
Pellicci
close.
goes from 1st to 3rd. Hawken and Folds go past. It compresses this leading group a little bit, I think, to see them battle like that as well. So that's good news for a couple of the drivers just on the tail of this, like Oswald, Coates and Martin.
Good opportunity to potentially save some fuel as well in the slipstream. You're in a long train of cars like this, and you're all the way at the back. Well, you can just afford to lift off a little and potentially play around with your strategy a bit more. You could be able to shorten your first pit stop and gain some track position as a result, which has set you up very nicely for the second stop that is still to come. Todd Martin at the very back of this train. There's his view of the leaders off in the distance. And it looks like he's just hanging on at the moment. It can be difficult being the last car in a train because you're putting the pressure on yourself to nail every single corner exit so you can stay in the slipstream. The moment you lose it, everyone else is just going to scramble away from you because they've got the slipstream of everyone ahead of them.
Yeah, into turn 6 we go, where you take a really late apex. It was just a bit of a checkup around Jared Collins, Donnie Moffat. Could our top 2 get away of Brandon Hawken and Michael Folds?
Oh, okay, so our leaders are really starting to turn the pace up now. Potentially, Folds was just holding back in the first couple of laps, getting the tyres up to temp. Same for Hawken as well. I think once the tyres have been switched on here, about 5 laps into the race, we're starting to see who's really got the pace and consistency at the moment. Pellicci starting to fall off the rear of them. Under a lot of pressure from Jared Collins now. It doesn't look like there's going to be a move into the final couple of corners, but I sense it is coming.
See just a little bit of marbles beginning to form, gravel beginning to be dragged onto the track in just a couple of places as we're about to complete lap 5. Onto the front straight, there is 1 second between Folds in second place and Eugenio Pollicci in third. That's a gap opening up that they will want to look to close, but Pollicci pulls to the right, rolls out of the throttle. That's Jared Collins and Donnie Moffat go. Does he have a problem? He's braking early, he's weaving.
That's strange.
I wonder if the Italian doesn't, in fact, have some kind of a problem.
Well, he's back up to pace through turn 3. Oh, doesn't get a very good exit out of the third turn, though, blocking the advance of Odyssey Adams. Yeah, this is odd from Pollicci. His car behavior doesn't seem normal. He might lose another position here if he's not careful. Straight to the inside, protects it. Mike Oswald having to run wide behind. This has really broken up our lead pack.
Yep, the top 2 are gone now, by the looks of things, unless they make just a little mistake, and that's all it would take. Just one mistake is all it would take. Panic at the Disco? I don't know. I can never recall. Jared Collins in third, Donnie Moffat fourth there. Are going to need to push really hard to close first and second. I think it's Fallout Boy.
So
Centuries by Fallout Boy. Okay. I've unseated that earworm and put it back in the garden.
Okay, cool. I only know, thanks for the memories, and this only seen it's an arms race. Those are the only ones that I'm aware of. So any kinds of those jokes will just go right over my head, unfortunately.
Nice static cams around here, shows you how the packs have formed and fragmented. The top 2, and then Jared Collins pushing like hell. Mitchell Peake in a little bit of a no man's land in 10th, would like to be part of some of these leading groups, but just dropped away from them a tiny bit. Has been quicker than Stalker and Rosorkis, who are still second and third in class. And then Sean Hayes, Mark Kruger, Tom Athon, Jordy Fike, Rui Coimbra, Brian Chabelski, and Jake DeGron have ended up in a little bit of no man's land as well. That's Kruger side by side with Hayes, I thought. No, with Athon. Tiny bit of damage on the nose for Kruger. Has he done that on another car, or has he done that on one of the curbs? Because he has been trying to turn that into a motorcycle a couple of times, just 2 wheels on the ground.
Yeah, he's been carrying that damage for a while. He got it on his 3rd lap. I am going to very quickly scrub through this footage and see what I can do to find it. Ah, it was contact with Jason Stalker. Actually, it was, remember a few laps ago when Stalker got the inside run on Peter Rosorkis and Mitchell Peake after that little exchange? Well, he had to, he made contact, he slowed up, and Kruger went into the back of him. So that's where he's picked up the damage from.
Looking at Pollicci, who, for whatever reason, he had for losing pace, seems to have shaken it off. He's not too far behind his teammate Donnie Moffat. He's got Odyssey Adams just behind him. Jared Collins has been driving really well. In fact, was 0.3 quicker than the leader on the last lap, and its sections through some of the timing sectors this lap has been within 1 second of Michael Folds. That's where you want to be to get at least some of that slipstream. And if Hawken is leading but Folds doesn't want to pass him, then they'll just be doing Hawken's pace. And Jared Collins could close this one back up, and everyone else in that top 9 would be very grateful if he could.
Yeah, a little bit more compression of the pack at this point would certainly help the likes of Michael Coates and Todd Martin, who still bring up the rear of this train for 9th. Few big battles that have formed out of this race. Battle from 1st to 9th, of course. Then 10th to 13th up for grabs with Peake, Stalker, Rosorkis and Hayes. Then Kruger, Athon and Fike are fighting in a little 3-way battle for 14th place. At the moment, Things looking like they're moving slow at this point of the race, but I'm sure the pace is going to pick up as the race reaches its conclusion and the intensity rises. Coimbra, Jabelski, and De Grande out there on their own at the moment, not battling with anyone besides themselves. Here comes Fike then. See what he can do to make his way past Athon. The hairpin coming up. Could this be the opportunity he needs? Not quite. He's going to stay behind for a few more corners.
That race leaders, and yeah, for second in open class, Jason Stalker did get by Peter Rasorkis just as the both of them have caught Mitchell Peak back up, and Jared Collins has caught up the leaders. You see that here looking at Michael Folds, the championship leader, champion elect, but I still think more than 100-point swing is mathematically possible. So he's looking to score some points, any points. A podium would be A-OK for him.
Just keeping an eye on Folds' behavior under brakes here. He's really making those gains on the way into the corners. It would appear that Brandon Hawken is nailing every single exit in the meantime. Folds probably having to do a lot of work to stay in touch with Hawken at the moment. Keeping an eye on the lap times, it looks like everyone's pretty consistent. The fastest of the front group was Donnie Moffat, actually, who's managed to put a gap between himself and Eugenio Polici. It would appear our top 9 battle is starting to break up. Our top 4 are together. Then there's Polici by himself. Then there's Adams, Oswalt, Coates, and Martin. So now there might have to be a little change of strategy from a few of these drivers.
We've got a strategy for Brian Jabelski. He's going to be the first driver to pit at the end of lap 8. He's got the long trundle down the pit lane. So there's a couple of garages back there. Then there's a hotel and museum. And then there's pit garages again. That makes it such a long pit lane. And Brian Jabelski finds his crew. But that car does not go up to take any tyres, Reese. Does that surprise you?
I think it being only 19 or so minutes into the race, it doesn't surprise me that he didn't take tyres, but at the same time, I think he's pitted abnormally early. I wouldn't have expected anyone to come in until about an hour to go or so. You can split this race evenly into 3 half-hour stints if you so desire, with a few laps either side to make adjustments. This is a bit of an abnormal strategy from Brian Jabelski.
And look at that pit lane time, 52 seconds just to take an ordinary stop of 19 seconds of fuel. So that's 32, 33 seconds of just pit lane transit time. Most racetracks are somewhere between 20 and 25, but it's more here. It's quite a bit at the Adelaide Street Circuit, where the pit lane speed limit is also 40 kilometres an hour, 25 miles an hour. Have you, has the Bathurst update changed much there?
I'll be straight up with you. I was too distracted by all the lovely new textures to pay any attention to the pit speed limit at Bathurst. So I'll have to get back to you on that. But it is a bit of a strange implementation sometimes. You know, most Australian circuits, they'll have the supercars pit speed limit, which is usually about 40 k's an hour. That is indeed the case at the Bend in Adelaide. But the other circuits, a little bit less consistent than that. It's I think 55 k's an hour at Oran Park. It was 50 at Oran Park. It's 55 at Sandown, I believe, and 72 k's an hour at Phillip Island. So
when it used to be 60 just 2 builds ago. Don't know what's happening there.
Yeah. It'd be interesting to see which series iRacing bases its pit road speed limits on. Things are starting to get interesting in this fight between Adams and Coates. They've been pressuring each other quite a bit. Adams has completely fallen off the pace, as has everybody in this pack on screen at the moment, running 209s on this lap, mid 208s for our front runners, and Polici, the fastest of the lot, at 208.2. He currently has the fastest lap overall of a 207.6. He is caught back up to his teammate Donnie Moffat, who maybe backed off a little bit to give Polici some slipstream. And so now the teammates will try their best to make themselves a factor in the podium battle.
Everyone in the top 5 still standing a chance. Going to need a little bit more from that next group of drivers back there with Adams, Coates and Oswald. Todd Martin doing everything he needs to do. Couldn't be going much better for him, to be honest. Leading open class by about 5 seconds, and part of a group of decently quick drivers here. It lets him pull further away from his rivals in class. It lets him manage his fuel a little bit. It lets him keep his focus and rhythm more than I think if he was just by himself. So that's all positives for Todd Martin at the moment, I'd say.
Yes. So into turn 1, look at the squirm under brakes for these cars. You do have to run the brake bias a ways back in order to get the rotation into the corners. Here we go. Another pit stop for Rui Coimbra this time. Coimbra is... he's one of those drivers who was a long way off everybody else on his own anyway. Might as well just run his own strategy and hopefully get back into it later. Maybe a safety car or a full course yellow would help out with that. But I've noticed, especially in recent weeks when I've been driving, I've been running the brake bias further back than I ever have. I think I've finally unlocked the secret to running the brake bias a long way back, as have the drivers at the front of this field, but it does result in a bit of entry instability which you have to manage.
I think you can manage it in this pack by just coasting into the corners a little more, rolling into the corners, and then just trying to make sure you nail your exit into the slipstream, pull up close to the other driver. A big slide from Brandon Hawken, goes a bit wide, touches some of the dirt, loses a little bit of time there. But that wasn't entry instability, that was somewhere in the middle of the corner. The tyres are just beginning to hurt a little bit. So it just closes up this next group of drivers, Michael Folds, but also Jared Collins, who should be pleased with himself, the work that he's been able to do. We thought that top 2 were gone, I'll be honest with you. Hawken and Folds are both very quick. Jared Collins is like, I'm quick enough too, and if the top 2 are still playing a little bit of games with each other, they're not out of reach for me, and he has reached them.
And he'll likely stay there, but I think a big factor is going to be how much fuel they put into the car and whether or not they take tyres. The pit time difference between Szabelski and Coimbra is about 4-5 seconds or so, and I think that's the difference in fuel. I didn't get to see if Coimbra changed any of his tyres, but that's something to think about for Jared Collins here, as now he's got the pressure up on Michael Folds. Brandon Hawken pulling away slightly at the start of this lap. A minor mistake from Folds potentially getting that one done, but out of turn 6 he starts getting back in touch with the leader.
Been thinking about what this racetrack needs, and I think somewhere around the back here, around sort of turns 10, 11 and 12, they need to just make an outdoor art installation. So steal the spider from Barber, bring it back home, hashtag bring my boy home, but also then whack up a couple of like Stoby poles, some barrels, a statue of Travis Head. Let's just load up some South Australian things, and then it'll just add a little bit of character to the far side of the racetrack, which otherwise just feels like racing in a giant green parking lot. Another slide, same corner from Brandon Hawken.
Yeah, Hawken seems to be a little weaker at that point of the circuit, and I totally understand why. That sequence of left-handers is so hard to get right. The first of them is faster than you think it is. You can get on the power quite quickly, but the car always seems to want to rotate further as you make your way through it, probably because you're just coming off a sequence of very fast turns, and you're dragging the brakes a little bit more to keep the car rotated. It's one of the places where you can see the most mistakes made on the lap. Also down here at turn 1, as that's Adams in the pit lane, first driver from our top 10 to do so.
Might have heard something from his teammate Rui Coimbra, like, yeah, this is the way to do it. Let's see, haven't seen a flying lap from Coimbra yet since he pitted. There's Todd Martin having a look at Mike Oswald now. So Martin up into 7th as Adams rolls down the pit lane. Curious to know what kind of a tyre strategy he goes for. Coimbra had the slightly longer stop, so maybe Adams will do similarly. No, that's okay. There we go. Right side.
Interesting.
4 at the first stop? Question?
Yeah, I think that might be what he's going for here. We'll wait and see if the left side gets jacked up. So all 4 tires being changed for Odyssey Adams, and that will result in a pit stop of 25 seconds, which isn't far off what Rui Coimbra did. So I think the not a team is going for 4 tires at the first stop. That should open them up to only have to take 2 tires, being left sides, I'd imagine, at the second stop, which will certainly help them out.
You want to hear a fun rumor that I heard?
What's that?
The family that own this racetrack and recently made a decent amount of money and recently got a fair bit of liquidity to all of their money. Well, Yasser has just moved from BMW back to Porsche in the World Endurance Championship. Why would he do that, having moved away from them? Well, BMW are not going to make their LMDH available to customer teams in the Asian Le Mans Series. Porsche will. Asian Le Mans Series has previously come to this racetrack that the Shahins own.
Stroking my beard in intrigue.
There are people who very strongly believe that the Bend will be back on the Asian Le Mans Series calendar like it was before COVID rudely interrupted it. And Yasser Shahin is doing Asian Le Mans Series this year as well as the World Endurance Championship. Could we see Australians in hypercars at the Bend in 2026, 2027?
I would love to see that, honestly.
I'd go. It's the only thing that would make me come to South Australia, not gather round football, not the Adelaide Grand Final, but hypercars at the Bend. I could see myself camping out underneath one of those power lines. Geordie Fike's pit stop includes right side tyres, and it includes left side tyres as well. These 4 tyre stops are looking like long ones, sort of 24 to 25 seconds, but I think the fuel drop is going to be higher here with this 90-minute race. I think you can take a long first stop and expect to have a shorter second stop. The only downside to that strategy would be losing the pack, losing the draft, but without that in your mind, I think it's a good strategy to get on 4 brand new tyres and early.
Yeah, it could afford you an opportunity to undercut those ahead of you. If they go for the same strategy of changing all 4 tires a couple of laps after you, then you've already got your tires up to temperature, and you're going to be running faster than them while they get their tires up to temperature. So that can result in a nice position gain in the short term. So that's probably something we're going to be seeing from a lot of drivers here. Our leaders coming out of the final corner, and it looks like our leader's going to go for it. Into the pit lane comes Brandon Hawken, but no one follows him in.
Well, if you slice this race up evenly, It's 2 stops in a 90-minute race. Michael Coates gets a black flag for his speed on pit entry. You do a 30-minute stint for the start, 30-minute stint in the middle, 30-minute stint for the end. These drivers who are pitting now, that's what they're doing. Peter Asaukas is in, but I'm going to guess for Coates that was speed. I've seen so many speeding on pit entry penalties here because it is off the exit of a very quick corner down to what in a race car might as well be stationary.
Yeah.
Only left sides for Hawken.
Interesting. Yeah, because the right side tyres get changed first if you select all 4. So Hawken is going to have a slightly shorter stop here, I would imagine. He is going to be hurting for grip at the end of this second stint, but he should change all 4 tyres at the second stop, which will pay the debt back, so to speak. He is out and away, and a 22.4 second stop. I would say that these long pit stop times are mainly fuel instead of tyres. Don't forget, Adams changed all 4 tyres, and his pit stop was only a few seconds slower. Athon in as well, 29 seconds stopped.
Might have just brimmed it to what was possible, and Michael Coates is serving that penalty. I'm not sure if you're going to take a look at how much he was over. Is it just is it going to be a fine in the mail, or are they going to take his license away from him?
Well, as I rewind to take a look at his entry speed, at the moment he entered the pit lane, he was doing 71 kilometers per hour. 40 is the school zone speed here in Australia, and if you went through a school zone at 70 k's an hour, you would probably have the book thrown at you. And
Donnie
comes Moffat
in, yeah, just gets his speed down as well.
So
but
that
not
leaves
Pellicci. Does that surprise you?
I don't know. I think
now Moffat's got a black flag. Oh, I don't think he had. I think he was manually controlling his speed, not limiter, and he's just popped up 1.5 too quick.
Yeah, that's a shame. That's really bad for Moffat. And so he now finally enters his box, and it looks like he's going for an all-4 tyre change as well. Yeah. Honestly, for the teammates Pellicci and Moffat, I think back to last round. The last time they pitted together did not work out for them, so maybe they're going for a bit of an offset strategy this time just to minimize the risk.
Oh, but that time Pellicci was ahead of Moffat. If Moffat was ahead of Pellicci, then either it'd go well or it'd even the ledger. Both ways is fair.
This is true.
There's
Moffat.
Jake DeGrand taking a good look at the museum. And I think his pit stall's just after the lobby of the hotel.
Very nice facility here at the Bend. One of 3 motorsport venues in Australia that are rated FIA Grade 2, which means they can host anything other than Formula 1. Basically, they are open to all international series, including Asian Le Mans Series and the World Endurance Championship. The other 2 venues are Sydney Motorsport Park and the Surfers Paradise Street Circuit. As Jake DeGrand makes his way out of his box, a 30-second stop for him. He managed to nail his pit road speed. Unfortunately for Moffat and Coates, their speeding penalties have resulted in pit stop times of nearly 1 minute and 10 seconds each. You go over the pit speed limit, you will get slapped with a very hefty hold penalty in your pit box.
Mike Oswalt and the open class leader Todd Martin come in. Jason Stalker from second in open class comes in as well. Everyone in. Jake DeGrand tries to stay out of the way. These drivers are still out on track and carrying on Folds, Collins and Pellicci. But this is, a race down to the pit crews amongst all of these 5 drivers.
It's like going on a crawl down the strip in Fremantle. Well,
it looks like Peak has made a lot of gains on some of those drivers.
Yeah, it would appear. I'd be interested to see what his lane time is. They're joined by Mark Kruger, who will finally get his car repaired from his contact with Mitchell Peak earlier. Let's see what these pit stop times work out to. So Oswald, 25 seconds. He's already away. Everyone else, though, still waiting. Todd Martin and Mitchell Peak with pit stops over 30 seconds in length. And the same is true for Jason Stalker and Sean Hayes. Mark Kruger, 27.5 seconds stop. So that tells me that Peak, Stalker, Rosakis, and Hayes have put in a bit more fuel. They're going to go a bit longer in the second stint. And Rosakis pitted 2 laps before everyone else, so he has moved back through to 8th.
Strategically, this is going to be interesting because I think there are drivers we've seen take longish first stops that will then have quicker second stops, and a lot of it will play back together after the second pit stop, and some of the drivers are sort of banking on getting a little bit of an undercut through the middle stint. And we're all coming in now. Folds, Collins, Pollicci. Oh no, Michael Folds.
Oh, don't tell me.
You have been done. You've been nicked.
So that could carry championship implications. He's going to have to sit there for an extra 40 seconds odd in the pit lane. And considering the gap to the cars behind, that may very well put him back with Adams, Oswald, and Martin.
What is it about being mathematically in contention for the championships that causes you to speed on pit lane? Because I'm just like, okay, how far down the order does Michael Folds have to be for Michael Coates to take the championship? Oh, wait, no, Michael Coates also sped on pit lane.
Yes, he did. So, as things stand, potentially Folds is still safe. Collins is going to come out in front. Pollicci coming out behind, but Brandon Hawken, with a much quicker stop, is now out in the lead by over 14 seconds and rising.
Michael Folds being held. This is going to make things interesting for the open class, because you can absolutely now see a world where your open class podium finish ahead of even more pro class drivers. Puts big points available to the open class, which means margins that looked safe no longer are. Brandon Hawken leads the race by 15 seconds to Jared Collins and Eugenio Pollicci, who've clearly taken a lot of their service first time around, and we expect to close Hawken in at the next stop, but not to the full tune of 15 seconds. Todd Martin leads open class, but Peter Rosakis is on his tail. So is Jason Stalker, part of this group. Our top 3 contending for the open class are all together on track in this middle stint at the bend.
So now we get back into the rhythm again. 51 minutes on the clock. And Todd Martin versus Peter Rosakis, the fight we are keeping an eye on here. Peak and Stalker not too far behind. Rosakis with the paciest car out there. He'll have the lightest of them all. 26 seconds in the box versus 32 seconds for everyone around him. So the cars around Rosakis are carrying slightly more fuel. Rosakis will have to pit earlier, but in the short term, he's going to be looking pacey at the moment.
This could be very, very juicy. Todd Martin versus Peter Rosakis. Rosakis did pretty well for himself in the first stint, but he was just separated on the opening lap by the way that it played out, the lead-in group and then the next group. You know, Mark Kruger leaping over curbs, everything else that was going on, and once you've lost a gap to the quick cars, you've lost a gap to the quick cars. Here comes Mitchell Peak, though, to get in between. Sorkis probably would do well to let Peak go, I think. Peak had just a 1 or 2 second longer stop, but he got into the lane quickly, so I think that's done well for him.
Looks like there's going to be a move for Michael Folds and Donnie Moffat. They've traded spots, Folds making up a position, but that's way down the field in 16th. It's not going to mean much for the moment, but Folds on a bit of a battle with himself here to try and get a consistent finish after speeding in the pit lane a bit earlier. Of course, both of these drivers on screen having the same issue. Interestingly, Michael Folds said in text chat, black clear, please. I don't think I was speeding. Sorry, Michael, you were.
Didn't everyone say that? How fast do you think you're going? Oh, gee. Ooh, maybe only 5 over? Not what the radar says. And that's another position. Mitchell Peak, and we're side by side for the open class lead there as Peak barrels his way through. It puts Todd Martin a little bit offline. Rosorkis thinks about it. And can I offer you first, second, and third in open class, all in a line?
Well, this is going to be fun. So, Rosorkis at the moment, again, technically the lightest car in the pack, but falling a bit behind. That was a great move from Mitchell Peak to move through on Martin. It's a turn where passes can be made, but they're often a little bit more difficult than you think. So very well done there. Number 56 up to P6 as we move into turn 1 again. It can be very difficult to actually hit those apexes. I mean, this is a pretty simple circuit in the first sector, but the speed at which you approach turn 1 is so high. It's such a long straight that actually picking your braking point, I think, is one of the hardest parts of this lap.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see how this track changes over the years, but for the moment, there's about 2/3 of it that might as well be racing in an unfinished sandbox out here. Not a whole lot of reference markers close to the track, just acres and acres of grass as far as you can see.
Give it 20 years, I'm sure we'll see some extra things popping up on the circuit.
Give the Shahins another $1 billion to build more.
Yes, please. I'd love to see a bit more life going into the bend. I mean, grass is technically alive, so I suppose that counts for something.
Yes. Different lines here, starting to see the drivers struggle a little bit more, and these differences in tyre strategy could be playing out through this middle stint. The sun gets closer to the horizon. Officially, it's mostly cloudy. Track not cooling off rapidly, but I think it will with still 45 minutes to go. Big fan of how every marshal's post here has a wind turbine and a solar panel from the family that made all of their money selling petrol.
Yeah, absolutely. The Shahins obviously own the OTR group, which is a widespread franchise of service stations across Australia. There's one just down the block from where my uncle lives, and on quite a few occasions we've purchased an extra couple of soft drinks for a gathering at that very OTR. So at least some of my money has gone to the Shahins and potentially to their upkeep of this track.
Because their recent deal was where they sold OTR to Viva Energy Australia, but took a shareholding in Viva Energy Australia, who also are basically Shell in Australia. So anytime you've ever bought Shell fuel or bought anything at a Shell branded service station or bought from an independent service station that buys their fuel wholesale from Viva Energy Australia. It's a wider web that they now weave.
They climb further and further up.
Or if you've ever bought
the corporate
DJR
landscape.
merchandise.
Of course, Shell V-Power Racing Team. And it's in the track as well. The official name of this circuit is Shell V-Power Motorsport Park. So, I feel like the It's Always Sunny scene with the red threads at the moment.
Don't know what else. I think Peregrine Corporation also have some real estate or something, but I think that's mostly in South Australia. They really went national with their deal with Viva Energy Australia, Australian rights holder, license holder of everything Shell. On board with Polici here down the front straight. How powerful is that slipstream to Jared Collins? Pretty much powerful. But they have just done a 208.8 this group. Brandon Hawken out in the lead, extends it a tiny bit further with the 208.5. And there's Oswalt and Adams, 209.5 for Oswalt. Adams catches him. Open class, Todd Martin's trying to ride the coattails of Mitchell Peak while Rusakis and Stalker battle.
Yeah, looks like Martin's managed to latch onto the back of Mitchell Peak somewhat, and we'll continue to follow him there. 209.0s from Rusakis and Stalker, so they aren't quite able to keep the pace up. See what they can do more towards the end of the stint. We're not going to be too far away from the window for the second stop opening.
I feel like sort of 35 minutes to go could be that window. The longest anyone went in the first stint was 17 laps. Is it still about 20 to go? So maybe in about 3 laps time, about 36 minutes left on the clock, could be the beginning of the pit window for the final stops. Everyone who started the race is still running the race. Everyone who started the race is still on the lead lap. That includes the drivers that had to serve penalties like Michael Folds, Donnie Moffat and Michael Coates. It includes Jake DeGrand, who we saw let the leaders go, but then the leaders pitted and are back behind him. DeGrand is back on the lead lap for the moment. Here are Folds and Moffat. They were penalised about 40 seconds, maybe 45 seconds. And they are about 50 seconds behind the leader. So they would be, I think, second and third, were it not for their speeding indiscretions. 40 is very, very slow in a race car. It's slow in these cars now with the gearbox that they've got. That first gear is quite tall. You're probably doing like 2,000 RPM in first gear going down that pit lane.
Yeah, I'd been following cars through the pit lane on my end, and it almost sounded like they were idling. Frankly, insane. The updated current gearbox on these MX-5s. I've been on iRacing long enough to remember when it was still an H pattern with road-based gear ratios. There is Adams defending from Oswalt and staying ahead through the turn 6 hairpin.
What do you prefer, racing sequential or the road gearbox and ratios? Because for the Toyota GR86 or the MX-5, I kind of miss the road transmission, but then I also besmirch a lot of the GT4 cars for using the road car transmission and having stupid ratios. Like, you never use 7th gear in the McLaren.
Yeah, and the Aston Martin is basically 3rd gear and a hairpin in GT4. I think that, yeah, I think that having race car style gear ratios is generally better. I think it makes more sense to me. I'm able to plan my gear changes a bit more effectively. But if you're doing it through a manual transmission with clutch, then it's I don't know. It feels a bit better than just having those sort of straight gear ratios. I know that the change to the MX-5 in particular, when they went to the current spec of the Global Mazda MX-5 Cup with the sequential transmission, it didn't get the best reaction from some quarters of the community, but this is simulation, and we should do everything we can to reflect the state of the real world. And to be fair, we still have the old NC Mazda MX-5 Cup car on the sim as well, which still uses the old H pattern.
For the real world racing, I believe it saved a lot of the teams from grenading quite as many engines as they had been, so that's good for them. I would like to track a car with like a nice sequential. People are swapping sequentials into MX-5s for other racing series and stuff. Seems fun, but I do like the old H pattern. Michael Coates is in. This is the first time we've seen a driver on the pit lane for a second time. Does he think he can get to the end from here? I'd suggest probably.
Yeah, 38 minutes to the end of the race. And I suppose this being a double length format, they've given them a little bit more fuel tank capacity to work with here. So Coates should be able to find his way through to the end from here without many issues, changing all 4 tyres. And well, he'll have a completely refreshed car here. And will be trying his best to make up some time. His fastest lap is a 2:08.4. That's his official fastest lap. So I don't know how far up he's going to make it, but he has plenty of opportunities to make that time up.
I wonder if past the green cones on pit exit, it's quicker to accelerate slipping the clutch. Like if the revs are low enough, first gear's tall enough, the quickest way to actually get up to speed would be a pit limiter off, clutch kick it.
Yeah, I have to wonder too. I haven't really done a comparison. It's been a while since I've driven the MX-5. So hopefully one of the drivers can potentially give us a bit of insight into that, as Mitchell Peake and Todd Martin are bump drafting down the front straight. Martin pokes the nose out and has a look, but he'll fall back into line. Oh yes, pass being made there. That's Peter Rousakis falling behind Jason Stalker now.
It's interesting. So Todd Martin's trying to push Mitchell Peake along to get away from this group. Jason Stalker's thinking, Peter Rousakis, you need to pick up the pace a little bit. I got a bit to give. So Stalker will get closer. Martin will know that's what's happening behind, and I think he's looking down the inside at turn 6 here on Mitchell Peake, who runs all the way around the outside. This costs them some time. Again, I want to be on the inside when it comes to 4 consecutive right-hand corners, and that's where Mitchell Peake is. So this is our most interesting battle group here because it contains the open class lead. We might look at those open class points again. Just try to evaluate where we're at with that. Yeah. Martin, Stalker, Lee Martin, Peter Rousakis. So Rousakis needs a little bit of a miracle here, but I don't think Jason Stalker needs anything outrageous. He just needs to be the open class winner with 1 or 2 cars between himself and Todd Martin. I'd also need to dig deeper into the spreadsheet about what the dropped results were, etc. But I think I'll go look at that now, because this could be super entertaining. There's another battle as well. Folds and Moffat working their way past Athon and Kruger.
Yeah, lap traffic getting into it. No?
Altogether. Just remember that Folds and Moffat had that penalty, and now they've had to catch a couple of cars and pass them again.
Yes. I was on replay. Adams is back in the lane, and has he picked up a black flag from that? No, he hasn't. I thought for a second he was speeding on the way in. He almost came to a complete stop to get the car slowed down. But Adams is now in, and considering the time that he lost there, slowing down as much as he did, that might be a free kick to Martin, Stalker, and Roussorkis. It all depends on how they execute their stops. Looks like it's going to be an all-4 tyre change for Adams too.
Coimbra, Athon, looks like Kruger too. Zabelski, in fact.
Adams's pit stop here, 26 seconds. That's pretty consistent with what we'd expect. And we'll see Rui Coimbra move away now. 29 seconds for him. So it looks like the Not a Team cars have decided to go for all 4 tyres on both pit stops from my measurements and assumptions. For now, though, no one else making their way in for a second stop. Adams is the one who leads the cars who are good to the end.
My brain hurts trying to remember how drop rounds work, so I think where Todd Martin and Jason Stalker run, if there's already 2 like DNFs in their ledger, then those are going to remain their 2 dropped rounds, and whatever they score today will count to the total in its totality, because it won't be replacing a middling result.
True, that makes sense.
I have an ice cream headache.
Good way to combat that is to just press your thumb on the roof of your mouth. Hopefully that helps you, David. These points-induced headaches can certainly do a number on you as a commentator. Meanwhile, Collins and Polici, it's looking like these two being roughly on the same strategy. Polici's pit stop being 0.4 of a second slower than Collins. May end up gaining that back on the second stop whenever they decide to make their way in. Speaking of, looks like Sean Hayes, after 10 laps complete on that stint, is going to round out his strategy. The number 94 making his final stop.
Here is the open class battle. Todd Martin wants Mitchell Peake to get on with this, and what we've got is 3 Canadians in a row: Peake, Todd Martin, and Jason Stalker. If 3 Canadians walk into a bar, what do they order?
That is a very good question. I'm sure maple syrup is involved somehow.
I think they like
Brandon
whiskey.
Hawkins come back in.
I think some of them like whiskey. You're right. Brandon Hawkins, the race leader, is in for his second stop, and we think this one will be a longer one than the first stop. Jared Collins carries on into the lead of the race. Eugenio Polici pits in. So we would think that Polici's second stop will be quicker than Hawkins' second stop. And they were 15 seconds apart coming into the lane. They should be maybe 10 seconds closer, depending on the tyre strategy. Now, this looks like it's going to be 4 for the final stop for Hawkins. He had a quick first stop. Polici was the other way around.
Yeah, so keep an eye out here. Hawkins gets his left side tyres changed. Polici only goes left side. So now is the opportunity for Polici to make this time up. Hawkins' stop is going to be over 30 seconds. He moves away. Polici only 17 seconds, and that is the gap entirely erased. But Polici has the pressure on now because he has to get up to speed very quickly. He'll have a slight advantage over Hawken in that Brandon has all 4 tires now that he needs to heat up, and you can see he's struggling to keep the car going straight on the way out of these corners. Good bit of oversteer, good bit of rotation. Let's see what these outlaps are like.
Well, it's certainly much, much closer. It could be a little closer. Geordie Fike's just finishing his second stop. Everyone in the top 8 still needs to stop a second time.
Looks like Hawkins wasted no time getting up to speed, sorry.
Yeah, he's brought them in well. Stalker's second stop looks like it's gone well. So now he's trying to effectively undercut Todd Martin and Peter Resorkis, who are still behind Mitchell Peak.
All right, as we keep our eyes peeled on this fight here, Mitchell Peak doing his very best to keep Todd Martin behind. Neither of them go for the pits, but Resorkis does. Looks like he actually slowed up a bit before he needed to. I suppose it's better safe than sorry, but that is going to put Resorkis a bit further back.
Now, the points table for every position that matters today has 3 points between each position. So 7th is 3 more points than 8th, etc. It goes 194, 88, 85, 82, 79, etc. Yeah, in the top 10, everything except between 1st and 2nd is 3 points. So keep an eye on that for the open class battle. Of course, if it gets really, really close, then all of the little bonus points, like 1 point for pole position in class, I think that went to Todd Martin. 1 point for fastest lap, I think is outright. 1 point for leading a lap. I don't think any of our open class drivers get that. Most laps led could be going Brandon Hawkins' way. The incident-free race is 3 bonus points, and we won't know until every driver's finished the race there. So if, say, Resorkis finishes 2 spots on the road ahead of Todd Martin, it could be very, very close.
A lot to think about going into the final half hour of the Spec-5 season. This is the fight between that's the 09 of Geordie Fike in behind Rui Coimbra and Tom Athon. Bring up the rear as well. The battle for 13th. And all of these guys are fresh out of pit lane. Geordie Fike, the freshest of them all, and the second longest pit stop of this group. Tom Athon only spending 23 seconds stopped in the box. Compare that to 28, 29 seconds for Fike and Coimbra. But the last pit stop does end up being a bit of an equalizer. If this was just after the first pit stop, I'd be saying, oh, well, Athon has the lightest car. He hasn't taken as much fuel. He'll be faster. But these guys have set themselves up for the final stint of the race, and so they're basically all on the same fuel load, more or less, now. It's all going to come down to whether or not they decide to change just left side tires or all 4. And looking at the pit stop times, I would say it's likely that Coimbra and Fike have taken all 4 tires.
Yeah, we saw a few of the stops. Jared Collins is still going on. Now, we know he needs a short final stop, but his last lap was a 2:08.998 versus 4 brand new tyres on Brandon Hawken. Gave him a 2:07.688, just fractionally shy of being the fastest lap of the race, which belongs to Eugenio Pollicci, who may have just said it as well. So Hawken and Pollicci are flying. They are undercutting Jared Collins big time right now. More than a second a lap.
Yeah, it'll probably be a good time for Collins to come into the lane, but he doesn't do it this time. He's going to try and commit as best he can, run as long as possible, potentially to give himself the best tyres at the end of the race. I think, Collins changed all 4 tyres on his first stop, so it's going to be left sides only on stop 2. But he will have the most to work with on the left side of the car in the final stint if he commits to running long here. Oswalt, meanwhile, makes his way in for the final stop. Still waiting on Folds and Moffat to be making their second stops as they make their way past. The pace from Folds and Moffat has been okay thus far. Not quite as fast as what Brandon Hawken's been able to manage, as he's just set the fastest lap of the race, a 2:07.5. That is solid pace there from Brandon Hawken.
Yep, flying. So his strategy of take new tyres later in the race, when the field's a little bit more fragmented, I can maybe use them to get an undercut. That's kind of what he's doing. So it's working out very well for him. Eugenio Pollicci is not hanging around behind either. They're the only drivers in the 2:07s. Well, basically everyone else is in the 2:09s. You've got Stalker and Adams in the high 2:08s, 2:08.9s for them. I was just looking through the open class points. And so while the winner of Pro Class is usually the outright winner and gets 100 points, the open class winner at each race, sometimes the open class winner is 10th outright and they get a small amount of points. Sometimes the open class winner is 5th outright and they take a big bag of points. Well, the biggest point score that anyone has taken in open class was Jason Stalker last round at Monza. So he's just discovered a little penchant for bagging big hauls at exactly the right point in the season. He's pitted earlier than his other 2 rivals for the open class win today. He's undercutting Todd Martin 2 laps in a row. He's been sort of half a second quicker. He is now more than 10 seconds ahead of Resorkis now that Resorkis has taken his second stop. It was a little on the long side. So for Jason Stalker, if he's having a clean race, if he successfully undercuts Mitchell Peak and Todd Martin, it could be game on here. Folds and Moffat are going to stop. And do you know what Michael Folds gets?
A black flag. Oh dear. Oh dearie me. It is falling apart here.
Is carelessness. A second time, I don't know how that cliche ends.
Yeah. Well, I guess to be fair to Michael Folds, he hasn't exceeded the pit speed limit by as much as we've seen. He was still at 58 kilometers per hour at the yellow cones, which is 18 over the pit speed limit. So that's going to be another long stop for Michael Folds. Question of whether or not it'll put his championship in jeopardy remains to be answered, but Donnie Moffat will say,
well, he would have if Michael
thank you very much.
If Michael Coates hadn't got the same penalty at the first stop as well. If Michael Coates was leading this race and Michael Folds was, off the lead lap, you start to ask questions, but it's not going well enough for Coates, and Michael Fox is not present. I've butchered the Oscar Wilde quote. I should have said, to get 1 speeding penalty might be regarded as misfortune. To get 2 looks like carelessness.
Yeah, that seems to be the case. Well, he's out. again is Michael Folds, and running 18th of 19 cars running. Behind him, Jake DeGrand comes in to get his final pit stop of the season done and dusted. Jared Collins says, yes, this is a good time to respond. I will come into the pit lane myself. Brings Mitchell Peake and Todd Martin through to the top 2 positions for the moment, but they are the only 2 cars that have not taken their final stop yet.
10 laps to go. It's fuel and 2 left side tyres for Jared Collins. He looks to get this stop done under 20 seconds. It'll just go over that, but now he's rolling and out ahead of DeGrand. 2 drivers left to stop are Mitchell Peake and Todd Martin. And when they do, will they be ahead or behind Jason Stalker? Stalker is close with Odyssey Adams at the moment. Every position outright matters dearly for Jason Stalker right now.
Yes, that is a consequence of points being awarded in both classes based on overall finishing position. It's not like an IMSA style multi-class series where different classes, they have their own points tallies. No, that's not the case here. If you're an open class driver and you finish in, say, 5th, for example, and you have 3 open class drivers in between yourself and your next rival, well, you're getting enough points for 5th place overall, and your rival is getting enough points for 9th. So it can be a huge boon if you work your way into the pro class pack and get yourself a good overall finishing position. It can be a huge advantage. So for the moment, Todd Martin's doing quite well, being towed along by Mitchell Peake, and Stalker, meanwhile, getting towed along by Odyssey Adams. And looking at lap times here, well, Stalker's last lap, I think, was a bit of an outlier, a 2:10.6. But Todd Martin's been running pretty consistent mid to high 209s behind Mitchell Peake. So we'll see what they do here as they make their way into the pits. And Martin just manages to slow it down in time. Bit of a quicker run into the lane there. That could be crucial.
It's ridiculous, isn't it? It looks like, you know, traffic light changes to red in front of you and you're like, I'm not quite going to make it through, and you really got to slam and come to a stop almost is what they do going into pit lane. Brandon Hawken to the lead. There's Eugenio Pellicci behind him in 2nd. How does this stop go for Todd Martin? Fuel and left side tyres. 9 more laps to go. Goes Jared Collins. Mitchell Peake is rolling. Todd Martin is not just yet. Taking him a bit longer. So where's Stalker?
Longer.
Here's Stalker.
There he goes. And he'll crucially have Mitchell Peake in between himself and Todd Martin. But Stalker himself going for the move on Adams. He recognizes now is the time to get the elbows out. And he's through into 4th, up 10 positions. Oh no, Todd Martin has spun at turn 1. This could be exactly what Jason Stalker needs.
And then Mike Oswald's past him. So Martin, new left side tyres, just spins in turn 1. Mike Oswald goes past. That's another spot loss for Todd Martin. Martin got going, still 7 seconds ahead of Donnie Moffat. But now there is 1, 2, 3 pro class cars between Jason Stalker and Peter Rasorkis. Coming into this race, there was only 15 or so points between them. And this is the dream scenario for Jason Stalker. And it's trouble for Todd Martin. No, sorry, Peter Rasorkis has also gone through. There's another car between them.
Yeah. Rasorkis made his way ahead of Martin as Martin was getting back up to speed. So that could be the defining moment of the championship for the open class right there. Rasorkis is not too far ahead of Martin, though. And looking at their pace, relative pace, it looks like Martin can go about 6-7 tenths faster than Rasorkis around a single lap when everything comes together. So there's every chance that Martin will make his way back past Rasorkis here. But is that enough for him to keep Jason Stalker from taking the title?
So coming into this race, 17 points between them. There is a 15-point difference between 4th place and 9th place. It comes down to the bonuses, like Todd Martin taking 1 extra point as open class pole sitter. The 3 points for a clean race could be absolutely critical. And if Todd Martin can get 1 more spot on track, I think that just about mathematically does it for him. But as it sits right now, it's a matter of 1 or 2 points, and it absolutely hangs in the balance.
That it does. We're going to have to get our calculators out a few more times, I think.
And Stalker needs to stay ahead of Adams, which I think will be a very, very tough task.
Yeah, I mean, just look at how close Adams still is to Stalker. May have been passed on the previous lap, but there is lots of pace in that number 22. Stalker, though, seems pretty comfortable for the moment. See Mitchell Peak behind them as well, starting to make up some time. He's slowly bringing that gap down. We don't know his pace just yet here on these new tyres, because we still only have his outlap to work with, but things could get a little more stressful for Jason Stalker as time goes on if Mitchell Peak catches up to the two of them.
Well, that's the race now, isn't it? Between about 4th place and 9th place, 10th place. This isn't what Stalker needs. Odyssey Adams goes down the inside at turn 13.
A little bit of curb usage there. Tell you what, I've seen a few open wheel races here at this layout of the bend, and the sausage curbs don't play nicely with open wheelers. They seem to be just fine for the MX-5s, though. These cars do like vaulting over big curbs in any case. Here's Rousakis and Martin, and Todd's first full lap here after coming out of the pits is going to have its time come up very shortly through the final corner. Very aggressive entry is required for this one, and also running out across the curb as much as you can to get the run out of the corner, and the slipstream down the start-finish straight will help things out too. A 2:08.8 from Todd Martin will pull alongside Rousakis and get back into 8th place, so he's keeping his title dreams alive.
Now, race admin, part of the admin team, long-running guy behind Spec-5 World Tour, Lee Martin, is not on the track today, but he is in the points spreadsheet. So that's good news for us. Bad news for him that he couldn't race, couldn't get home from work on time, or whatever it may have been. But I think we are going to get as near enough to live points updates as we possibly can.
Good.
I noticed because it looks like he's broken the drop rounds calculations. And I was like, hang on, that's not what I put in the graphic. Did I do the graphic wrong?
Oh, he's there. He's there working behind the scenes, getting the hamsters on the wheels, as up the inside of Jason Stalker will go Mitchell Peak. And so now that's a few less points for Stalker as well. The championship for the open class falling more in the favor of Todd Martin now.
At the moment, I don't need the spreadsheet to tell you it's all coming up Todd Martin with things like that. Martin getting by Rousakis, Peak getting ahead of Stalker. The points delta and swing becomes far less. So watch out. Poor Jake de Grand. I'm sure 90 minutes is more than twice as tough for some of these drivers.
Yeah, especially for de Grand, who is in a wheelchair and uses hand controls to drive.
His palms might be sweaty.
Knees weak, arms heavy.
Yeah. Shell V-Power on his sweater already.
Yes. Just a small divergence.
That's wide from Adams. Sorry, yes.
Yeah, very wide indeed. We could see a pass here. I've been taking a look through FIA Grade 2 venues as this side-by-side continues. We'll see if this pass is completed here. Around the outside at turn 6 doesn't always work, but you can cut back on exit to get the move done. Doesn't work out. It looks like Peak is going to have to follow Adams through this next complex. But did you know that Lebanon is FIA Grade 2?
No, but there you go. A lot of circuits can be FIA Grade 3, and that's fine. Like, that's every street circuit that doesn't host F1. Off the line and wide. You can't go along the outside of the long turn 12. You can get to the inside of 12. We've seen moves happen there. But Pete crosses over under. He knows that turn 13 is also a right-hander. He's halfway up the door. Now he's most of the way up the door. Around the outside, doesn't seem to have a whole lot of grip there. Based on the camber of the road, just going over a little crest. Jason Stalker's like, what do I do?
He's going to have to commit to the outside here. Adams trying his best here to hold on to the pace, but look at that move around the outside from Peak. Managed to just hook it into the camber very nicely and get a great run out of the corner. Fantastic launch. Now, Stalker needs to defend from Adams. Looks like he's managed to stay ahead, though, which is fantastic to see. At least, if he's thinking about losing less points to Todd Martin. But the weave across the line comes as they start yet another lap. My timing is telling me for our leader, Brandon Hawken, next time he crosses the line, it will be 3 laps to go.
That's fun. I've got 4 more. Let's find out.
Okay. Well,
not like my calculations have been great today, though, unfortunately.
Well, I mean, I guess it's 4 laps to go right now. But when he crosses the line, it'll be 3 laps to go.
Yeah, lap times are just over 2 minutes. He's doing 2-minute 8s, so that 4 minutes 16.
Maybe my timing's wrong.
24. If there's 6 minutes and 24 seconds or more, we're going 4 more laps when he crosses the start-finish line this time, and I think it's touch and go with that. I think you... Okay, well, let's find out.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. Hawken has dominated proceedings thus far, and he's under no pressure, still running mid-208s with no one assisting him in the slipstream. Some pretty fantastic pace from this guy. If he does a full season campaign next year, I'd be very interested to see where he'd stand, because the moment he came in to Spec-5 World Tour, he was immediately on pace and immediately fighting for wins. So 6 minutes and 30 seconds across the line there. It looks like it may indeed be another 4 laps.
Yeah, only by 1 or 2 seconds. So he'll probably take the white flag with 3 seconds left on the clock, unless it slows up significantly towards the end here, which he might want to do. I don't know, we'll find out.
I mean, it's 3.5 seconds back to Polici. I don't think Hawken can afford to give up that time. Meanwhile, here's the fight for 16th. Hayes, Folds, and Jabelski. 3 pro-class cars getting involved in a battle at the back of the field, and that's Folds getting up the inside of Hayes. Again, at the uphill right, which, yeah, you're right, it's an incredibly difficult corner to go side by side through. It's blind on the way in. You can't see the exit of the corner. All you see is the sausage curb sticking up, and that's about it until you crest it. But if you play your cards right, you can get the move done very nicely, as Michael Folds just showed us. But still, maybe a bit of a blemish on Folds' season here. With the double black flag in the pit lane. Back to the battle for 4th. Now, Adams has moved back ahead of Stalker, and I think they're going to continue scrapping now for the last 5 minutes.
The spreadsheet is being populated right now, Reese. I have more information coming in on board. Change of direction there. Here, like Adelaide, they definitely seem to have scanned the racetrack in the configuration that it is for when Supercars comes visiting. So a couple of the temporary grandstands are up, some of the temporary TV screens are up, but there's also cherry picker scissor lifts and other things that are temporary camera positions for when the Big Boy Championship rolls into town here.
Indeed,
Whereas this didn't have that. It still had the speed limit signs up from...
Yeah, still 60k an hour speed limit signs up at Mount Panorama. Fortunately, the bend is not a public road, and so there is no need for any of that. But it is interesting to see what iRacing choose to include in their circuit models, because racetracks have different configurations for different events, don't they? And in the case of street circuits...
Have you seen Mexico City?
Oh, yeah.
They've done such a great job on that because there's a totally different pit lane for the different configurations. You can have the F1 style pit lane or the NASCAR style pit lane, depending on which configuration you take. And then there's different paint on the start-finish straight, depending on whether you take Grand Prix or the configuration that NASCAR raced. They've done a lot of variation to that. Different pit lane speed limit, depending on the configuration there.
Yeah. Yeah, I think Mexico City is one of the finest jobs that iRacing has done. Making their layouts, their different circuit configurations, properly differentiated from each other as they are in real life. They've done the same thing with the recent rescan and art update to Watkins Glen as well. The boot layout has sports car style track limits where, you can put all four wheels on the curb if you so desire, but if you go beyond them, then it's an off track. And then there's the cup layout, which has NASCAR track limits, which basically don't exist.
The only limit is your imagination. 2 minutes and some seconds on the clock for Brandon Hawken. He does not receive the white flag, which guarantees that there are 2 more laps in this race. He's beginning to extend a lead over Eugenio Pollicci, who I think might be doing some fuel saving. There might be a few drivers that have to, because like we've just worked out, if they're working off the Reese Gardner numbers, they might be a lap short. Todd Martin's around again!
Oh, no! Oh, we can't see him yet, but we will.
He's losing a position.
Is that?
Donnie Moffat passes him at turns 14, 15.
Yes. All right, well, we'll see what happened to him here. Did he get any help? No, he did not. He just went in too hard, and that is a mistake I've made many times before. You can brake so late for that corner, as I mentioned, more towards the top of the show. It's faster than it looks, so you're carrying all this speed, but you drag the brakes just a little too much, maybe turn in a bit too harshly, and the rear end decides it doesn't want to play ball anymore. And as a result, Todd Martin now sits in 9th place. Now, what does that do for the championship situation for Jason Stalker? He's got Rasokis and Moffat in between himself and Martin. Is that enough?
Stalker needs to be ahead of at least one of these two. He needs to be either ahead of Peak or Adams. There was a point he was ahead of both of them, and it was looking doable. It was looking achievable. It's not now, and Martin's only lost 1 spot with what just happened for him there. A lot of this could come down to who has how much fuel, because a lot of them will only just now be realizing that they haven't taken the white flag and that there's 2 more laps to go. They might have been thinking they were about to take the white flag and then didn't, and you realize maybe a little late how short you are. Brandon Hawkins out of the final corner. You see just 10 seconds on the clock, but you won't see the checkered flag in Barney's hand. You'll see the white flag. Where is Barney? Inside of the track?
Yeah, I did see I'm pretty sure I saw a flag being waved somewhere, but yeah, I don't know. Barney's probably just
oh no, he hasn't gone to Snowtown, has he?
Once again, the reference flies entirely over my head and into the distance.
Mitchell Peak. So looking somewhere, I don't see Barney. I don't know. Maybe I should have seen it, but I think he's trying to break the slipstream to Odyssey Adams. And then
do these guys have enough fuel to get to the end? I was sorry to talk over you there. That's the question I always ask myself in a timed race is like, yeah, sure, you can work out your own strategy based on your own pace, but depending on how fast the leader is, that can be the difference between the race going an extra lap or not. And you know, I often forget to factor that into my calculations, so I wouldn't be surprised if there were a few drivers in trouble here today.
Peak just went super defensive. But Adams wasn't that close, so I don't know what that's about. Stalker still sits behind. Todd Martin 6/10 behind Donnie Moffat. Oh, massive curb hop from Odyssey Adams there as he got super duper airborne.
Hooks up the apex nicely though. That'll be helpful for him. Todd Martin catching up to Donnie Moffat here on the final lap. All it's going to take is a little more from him, but Brandon Hawken out of the final corner is going to take the final win of the season, David.
Yeah, first appearance was at round 7 for Brandon Hawken, and then in round 8, round 9, and round 10, he's taken the win. He has been the class of the tail end of the season, but arrived a little bit too late. Eugenio Pellicci is just going to cough and splutter that thing to the checkered flag. Jared Collins completes the season with a podium. Mitchell Peak, Odyssey Adams, and Jason Stalker. As it stands right now, Todd Martin is headed to the Open Class Championship. Jason Stalker is headed to the Open Class win, but not enough positions outright to snatch the championship at the final race. Doesn't look like anyone ahead of him is going to cough or splutter or run out of fuel. They cross the checkered flag there, with Mitchell Peak in 4th, Odyssey Adams in 5th, Jason Stalker in 6th, Peter Rasorkas in 6th. Michael Folds, I think, has just made 2 moves on this final lap to pass Sean Hayes and Geordie Fike. That was interesting.
Indeed it was. Folds in the championship leading position coming into this round, and despite his problems, okay, that's how he made his way past Fike. A very nice over-under, which turned into an inside pass at the uphill. But yeah, despite his pit stop dramas, I think Folds might still have done enough to take the Pro Class Championship here.
Yeah, Todd Martin crossed the line in 9th. We're back onto the live pictures here, where Fike has run out of fuel and been passed by Sean Hayes.
And that is...
Where is the timing line?
Actually, no. Hayes didn't do it. It's the first line that they come to that is the actual timing line.
And Barney might be back there as well.
It was close. It was only about half a tenth of a second in between them.
And with those results, Michael Folds is champion in the absence of Lincoln Fox. And Todd Martin is only outscored by 2 points by Jason Stalker, it seems. And Todd Martin is Open Class champion. Stalker got the bonus from the Open Class pole. He got the bonus... Sorry, Martin got the Open Class pole bonus. I think he got a 0 incident point. No, he's not going to get a 0 incident point bonus with those spins we saw. We'll come back to that one, but I think Martin is safe as champion Brandon Hawken takes that win. Eugenio Pollicci finishes second. Jared Collins joins them on that podium. Mitchell Peake comes back through the field for fourth place. Remember, there was a time he was in 10th and he couldn't catch the top 9 breakaway. Well, he got fourth in the end, keeping it clean. And then Odyssey Adams in 5th. There's Jason Stalker with the open class win in 6th ahead of Peter Rasorkas. Donnie Moffat up into 8th. Todd Martin in 9th. Mike Oswalt in 10th. Rui Coimbra 11th. Kruger 12th. Tom Athon 13th. Michael Folds 2 pit lane penalties. Finishes 14th. Geordie Fike in 15th. Sean Hayes 16th. Brian Jabalski 17th. Michael Coates 18th. Jake DeGron, the last driver to finish, and he finishes in 19th because we didn't see David Starb or Rick Wishon on track in the race at the Bend.
So that's going to conclude the racing portion of the evening. And as far as drivers getting ready to join us for an interview, it looks like Jason Stalker is down there. So he might be the first driver that we chat to as the celebrations for the end of season begin.
Yeah, everyone's crossed the checkered flag. The bonuses for laps led and 0 incidents have been counted, and not many drivers have actually got 0 incidents. No one's got 0 incidents. Brandon Hawken gets 1 bonus point for 2x. Jared Collins gets 1 bonus point for 2x. No one else gets any. Let's get to Jason Stalker. The open class winner joins Reese Gardner.
He does indeed, Jason. That was quite the up and down race, I think, for the majority of us, but a fantastic fight that you ended up having with Adams and Peake at the very end. Not quite enough to take the open class title from Todd Martin, but I think you should still be very happy with your end of season form. It would appear we do not have Jason Stalker presently, so we might give him a few moments to sort his microphone out. David, I understand Brandon Hawkins down there in the pro booth.
Yeah, he is. We'll come back to him as we head to Brandon Hawken. 3 wins on the trot to close out the championship.
Yeah, man, that was a really fun race there. It was a little bit different with the 2 stops this time, and it opened up a lot of strategy. And I guess my thought going into it was just to try and get as much clear track as possible. And it looked like pretty much everybody else I think took 4 on the first stop. I took 2, and then we swapped on the pit stop. So I was just just hoping I had enough time taking gas to take 4 tires, and there was plenty of time. And then Eugenio, he came in just behind me, but he had the shorter stop. So we came out pretty much, we came out fairly close there within about 2 seconds ish. And he was pushing me hard. I was trying doing all I could to keep him out of my draft. And then I think the 4 tires started kicking in there a little bit towards the end. And But man, that was a tough battle. He put on a heck of a fight there. Great comeback too, by the way. After he got a couple cones stuck under his car, and then I think he was off sequence as well. So that was a really good run from him. Great run from all these guys. That was a battle.
Now, there's nothing to announce at this time about a season 19 of Spec-5 World Tour, but are you going to keep your eye out, keep your ear to the ground?
Oh, definitely. Yeah. I've been here for the last, I guess, 4 or 5 races or so, and it's been a lot of fun. So I've been really enjoying myself. The racing's awesome, and it's just a great group of drivers. So definitely next season. We'll see what's announced, but hopefully get to run the whole season. And I've been having my eye out on this series for a little while, but I've never gone in and done it. And so I was like, you know what, I got Thursdays freed up. I'll give it a go, and it's been a ton of fun. So just hats off to Jordy, all the admins, you guys in the booth, and everybody out on track. It's been a lot of fun.
Big congratulations. Plenty of good wine regions in South Australia for you to pick from to celebrate your victory today.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Let's get that man Barossa sparkling. And Reese, we got a few more people around. Where do you want to go? Do we want to try to get Jason Stalker again?
Yeah, let's get Jason again, so he doesn't have to wait too long. Jason, do you have us? He's lighting up in Discord, but no voice, unfortunately. Give him a bit more time to sort that out, and I think... he
was actually, prior to the start of the race, saying, sorry guys, my headset doesn't seem to work. Apologies in advance. I don't hear anyone either. So I reckon his Windows settings are all mucked up.
Potentially. Yes, it does indeed. Well, we'll try and get to you when we can, Jason. For now, I reckon Mitchell Peak should be the one that we chat to. So we'll just quickly bring him in and have a chat to him about his race. So as we make our way into the commentary booth, hello, Mitchell. This was quite a tough one for you. 10th place start, but fighting your way up the whole way around. What do you think was the key to that?
Well, unfortunately, my qualifying put me in P10, so I was on the back foot from the start, so I knew it was going to be a battle. My plan going in was go long on the first two stints and take tires at the first stop, and at the second stop take lefts and try to go for a quick one. And that is exactly what worked out for me to get P4. When I came out of the pits, I was about 2 seconds behind Odyssey and Jason, and I knew I had to make quick work of them because my tire advantage wasn't going to last for too many laps. So within about 3 or 4 laps, I made a couple passes on them to secure P4, and then it was just holding off Odyssey and playing a little bit of games down the main straight so they couldn't get a good draft off me. But I'm pretty happy with P4 considering how I qualified.
Yeah, as you should be. It's a great way to cap off the season. What are your thoughts overall on how your season went here in season 18? A long and tough one with plenty of varying fortunes for many.
Yeah, I had not the greatest season for my standards. One of my drop weeks was a 0. Unfortunately, I couldn't make one, so I knew it was going to be tough. Last week, I was outside of the top 10 coming into this, so I knew I had my work cut out for me for the last 2 races. And, to get a podium last week for P2 and then finish off P4 in the finale, I'm pretty happy with that. Secures me inside the top 10. And all I can say is I know for certain my homemade rig is not ergonomic whatsoever. My knees are killing me after 90 minutes.
Indeed. So maybe some improvements to be made to your ergonomics in the off season. Mitchell, thanks very much for joining us. Congratulations on the P4, and hopefully we'll be seeing you next season.
Thanks a lot, guys. I'll be there for sure.
Meanwhile, it appears our open class champion elect has made his appearance, David. I think Todd Martin's going to be next.
Yep, it really, really came down to the line. We knew that the open class was going to be possible for a lot of drivers. You came in with the lead and you've come out with the championship, Todd.
Oh, it wasn't a pretty race. I did great for the first 2 stints and then just blew the last stint there. I picked up some cones, which I posted, but it was fun. It was a great race, and I was hoping to kind of hang up there with the front crew, but always fun in this Spec-5 league here.
A 17-point lead, and Stalker outscores you by just 8 points. There was some times there that it was maybe possible, but Stalker couldn't keep up with some of those pro drivers to keep a car in between you and your consistency across the season, but really coming on strong from about round 3 of the championship has propelled you to this win.
Yeah, I don't drive the sports cars very much. I'm more an open wheel guy, so I spent a little more time after the first couple races getting in this thing and coming in on practices on Wednesday nights, and I just had a great time. I really love this league. Lots of good people here, and you guys are great commentary.
Yeah, thank you so much. And you're actually still biggest points haul of the season is today with 71.
Yeah, I knew when I qualied up quite high, I had surprisingly good pace here. I had to buy the track just before, like on the weekend here. So this is the first time I ever raced here. I got into practice last night, but
thank you for supporting the Australian economy.
Love it. Yeah.
Well,
yeah,
carry on.
Mid race, I kind of hooked up with a few. Or at the start of the race, I hooked up and managed to just hang on to some guys, and then felt like, I got some pace. I'll try and push past, and I just managed to kind of stay in the kind of the second pack there for quite some while and try and build a gap. But I'm not great at pit stops. I really messed up kind of both of them. Managed to be pretty consistent until the final stint there.
Oh, it's awesome to see you arrive in the championship, come away with a really, really tightly fought win, 5 or 6 drivers that could have done it depending on circumstances here at the season finale. And, a double length race, a taxing way to finish, but it all falls in your favor, and really pleased to see that happen.
Yeah, it was pretty fun partway through. I was in the Discord channel with a few of the other boys there, and Peter was in there, who was kind of in the fight as well. Jason wasn't in there, but we were all in a line. So it was pretty exciting. It could have gone any way there.
Again, nothing to announce at this time, but a season 19, a Spec-5 World Tour at some point in 2026 seems likely. So hopefully we'll see you come back to not necessarily defend the open class crown. I think they might have to promote you, but to see you battle again on track.
Oh, that's great. I'm looking forward to racing up with the getting my ass handed to me up in the top group there.
There actually is a calculated outright standings where you finished 12th pro and open combined. So a top 10, maybe you could appear in the top 10 of the pro class graphic.
Yeah, I'd love it. Like I say, these cars aren't my go-to. I get an open wheels. Like when I'm not racing this, I'm racing karts. So it's great to kind of just get some off-season time here. But I just got a shout out to Jason Stalker. It was fun. We kind of hit other races up once in a while, and his whole crew was fun to race against this year.
Beauty, thank you so much, and we'll see you around, Todd.
Thank you, David.
Oh, you've also won Martin class because Lee didn't race today.
What? I thought Lee was in here.
I think he was chatting, but not on track.
Ah, that's great. Another win for the Martins.
Thanks. Bye.
Everybody wins.
Doesn't look like we're going to speak to the pro class champion Michael Folds, though. Maybe he's in court trying to argue with the judge about those 2 speeding fines, because goodness gracious me, even as champion, I don't think that's how you want it to finish up. I think he wanted to win this race, and he's kind of been crowned in absentia without Lincoln Fox to challenge him, and he can still look back on a very, very strong season, though, and so too can we look back on 10 exciting rounds of Spec-5 World Tours Season 18, and great support from the drivers, from the admins. They had an amount of money they needed to raise before the start of this season, and they smashed it. So if that kind of carries over They don't have to do too much to get a season 19 in the works, but you don't want to oversaturate anything. Maybe we'll all enjoy our time off, enjoy Christmas and the New Year, and when we have something to tell you, we will.
Indeed, we will. Big thanks for having me on once again. It's been a pleasure to be telling the story of this championship, David. And hopefully bring on next season sometime towards the end of the new year. I've become quite used to having my weekly dose of MX5s on a Friday morning.
Well, it's actually, it's pretty good for us in our time zone. This is plural. Thank you so much for everyone who's supported us covering the Spec-5 World Tour, everyone who's left a comment, liked the live streams. We always pick up just a couple more subscribers on our YouTube as well as these streams go out. So we enjoy really, really lovely support from the league, from all of the drivers, from everyone who tunes in. And it really makes our week covering such competitive league racing week in, week out. And so to say goodbye to this season and our champions, Todd Martin and Michael Folds, that's 90 minutes of the Bend completed. I've been David Haynes with Reese Gardner, Michael Derby in our production all season long. We'll see you when we see you in 2026.